taking a break in the car. Today we're talking about border issues. Since Biden's election, a lot of people might not be thinking about the full scale of the issues that are being affected, but border wall construction still is going on, in multiple states along the southern border with Mexico, and it's still having a large impact. I was down there recently and saw, deer running around trying to figure out ways to new migratory paths now that it's blocked. So there's a lot of issues at hand right now, and we're bringing back on Lakin. We spoke with him about probably 6 or 7 weeks ago about some of the issues along the border. He works at the Center for Biological Diversity and just has a lot in tune with what's going on down there. Lakin, what is the status of the border wall, and how is this continued construction threaten the environment?
Yeah, hey Lucas. Heartbreakingly, border wall construction continues every single day. You would think that Trump losing the election and especially Arizona delivering him that defeat, you would think that would save some of these spectacular wilderness lands and wildlife refuges from being destroyed. But day in and day out, construction crews continue to dynamite rugged wilderness mountains and erect more panels of border wall. Essentially, they're inflicting as much damage as they possibly can while they're on their way out the door. Um, we're doing a lot of work to bring attention to this, and we're very hopeful that the Biden administration will cancel all construction contracts on day one, send these construction crews packing, and spare the rest of the borderlands from being destroyed. But we've got a lot more work to do. Yeah, it's a great question. So, first and foremost, we will be fighting tooth and nail to tear down sections of border wall in places where they cause the most ecological harm. We're talking about critical corridors for endangered wildlife like jaguars, areas like Quito Baquito that are sacred indigenous sites that are also biologically important. Wildlife come from across the border in Mexico to drink at Quito Baquito because it's the only reliable source of surface water in that entire region of Sonoran Desert. A lot of the damage the Trump administration has inflicted will take centuries to heal. They have moved mountains literally to build this wall. They have plowed over ancient saguaro cactuses. They have crushed endangered species habitat. Looking ahead, we're going to need some serious efforts to restore and rehabilitate the borderlands. We will absolutely want to kill the lights on the border wall on day one because the lighting attached to this wall is also disastrous for pollinators and birds and bats. Um, and I think perhaps most importantly, we have to center the voices of indigenous communities who have lost so much as a result of wall construction. Indigenous nations like the Tohono O'odham, the Cocopa, the Kumeyaay in California. Um, and looking ahead, to really achieve justice in the borderlands, we're going to need to have a lot of difficult conversations and serious consultation with tribal leaders to right all of the wrongs that Trump has inflicted. Hmm.
these overpasses or these bypasses. What do you have any concept of what that look like? Because when I see some of these panels, I think maybe cutting a whole 6 feet, 8 feet across and kind of high, it's gonna require a lot of extra work and extra time, and they're not really designed to modify that way. Like, what can be done? Like, are we gonna have to completely tear down certain sections of wall, or what's it gonna look like? And that touches on a lot. I've heard for months that a lot of the people that worked on Bernie Sanders' campaign had a high stake in the environmental policy and really pushing things like the Green New Deal or just environmentally conscious regulations and things inside of the Biden campaign. Do you see that really continuing with how he's aligning himself with certain people so far on his cabinet and stuff like, or do you see maybe he is still invested heavily in being from the Beltway. He's been there, decades and things like that. I mean, do you have hope in him as being a transformative candidate compared to someone like, Trump or compared to someone like Bernie Sanders who would really push the envelope? Awesome. Cool. I'll take a quick break. We're here with Lakin on HAPS TV. We're tuning in, kind of touch base on the future of the border wall construction here in Arizona, but also just throughout the southern Mexican border. We have some of our HAPS people joining us in apps from Paris and London. Hey, good evening, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It's definitely a big issue, and like we said, there's so much work to be done to address the damage and just the destruction that's been caused, the ecological harm that's been caused by the border wall construction. We've talked on this before, but every law was suspended. Just the Clean Water Protection Act and acts that protect desert aquifers and things, and just going out there and seeing water truck after water truck after water truck spraying. I've probably been around when tens of thousands of gallons of water have just been sprayed out into the desert floor, and it doesn't the aquifer is going to take like you said centuries if ever to repair, and that's one of the main things that makes our planet so lush and fertile are these aquifers we have underneath the land, and here in the desert it's just going to be it's going to be a lot to work with. Been working with another correspondent. I don't know if you've tuned in to any of his stuff there, Lakin, but his name is Eric. He's been on the border wall, probably here at the later on this week. Kind of looking at some of the issues with everything from the really militarized aspect of having to drive through border patrol checkpoints every day if you live down there, to just looking at, what the border construction's doing to the area. I mean, I spoke with someone for a different outlet back, I think in March or April, about just she was really afraid that her community had an influx of hundreds of workers,
Hmm.
there was a New York Times article about it discussing, what COVID was going to do if it had an outbreak in this town. I believe it was Aho, I believe. And so, yeah,
Sure.
they had, a community of, a lot of older citizens and things like that, and no urgent care, and really no facilities to deal with that. And what it meant to have these workers that are coming from not just across the country, but around the world into this by the hundreds, and, into their local stores and things. So it really presents a large scale, a large set of issues to deal with. So we're excited to see what is going to happen. Do you think in your mind that Biden's going to use executive power to, in the first couple of days, stop the border wall construction? Like, or what do you think was that with that?
Yeah, so I mean, Biden has already publicly committed that not another foot of wall will be built under his administration. Now, we are absolutely counting on him, not just to not issue new construction contracts, but to cancel the existing construction contracts. If these contracts were completed, so much more in Arizona, in Texas, in New Mexico, in California would be destroyed. And I just want to make it clear to all of your listeners that there's with the strike of a pen, Joe Biden could do this. Every government contract has a clause with which they can terminate the contract and pay a small fee, and that fee pales in comparison to the amount of money that we would continue to waste building these walls, and it would spare some of the most beautiful places along the U.S.-Mexico border from permanent destruction. So yeah, we're certainly hopeful, and again, that's just the first step. That's not enough. We also want to see a lot of federal funding going towards mitigation and restoration efforts, and also some efforts to consult with tribal entities who have lost so much as a result of border wall construction.
So we had some questions in the comments a little bit ago saying, well, could the materials be recycled? I mean, I've been down there and seen, American workers trading or gifting pieces of, metal or equipment or whatever to the Mexicans on the other side. Can something like that be done with this wall? I mean, it's, we're talking about millions and millions of pounds of metal.
Yeah, this is a huge amount of material, and certainly it can all be reused and recycled. I think it would be wonderful if we could turn it into some sort of cross-border art initiative, but I'll leave that up to the more creatively minded folks to figure out what to do with it. But yeah, we'll have a huge amount of scrap metal available for for use soon here down on the border, I hope.
That's awesome. Well, hey, thank you for spending time with us today. Always love having a conversation, getting us filled in. I myself am be heading back, hopefully in a couple weeks, to really see what's going on. I was there recently and just saw, like you said, moving mountains, blood still blasting, and dynamiting the sides of hills and things.
Yeah,
So yeah, thank you for speaking with me, and hopefully we can tune in again soon. And for everyone out there in Haps World and everything, we have Eric coming up in a couple days. He's going to be doing some border coverage and really looking at what's going on down there and how this is affecting certain communities. So again, Lakin, thanks for making time with us. And everyone else, please tune in later on to Haps.
sounds great. Thanks.